psychoanalysis, and so much more. Today is a special session as we are going to talk about emotional intelligence. Over to you, Tanvi. I will share the screen now.
Thank you so much, Gunjan, for that lovely introduction.
Thank you. So we have the slide so show on. Just a second. Give me, it's loading. Give me 1 minute. Yeah, we are on, Tanvi. You can start.
Thank you, Gunjan. Good evening to everyone. Like Gunjan just mentioned, I have been a practicing psychologist, and over a period of 8 years, I have come across various, things that we do. Like workshops happen to be a very close to heart kind of service that we provide, and also counseling, which is so much dear to me. So with that, let me begin by introducing today's topic to you, which is being an emotionally intelligent educator. So what we are going to essentially cover in today's session is we're going to be looking at four things primarily. So section by section, we've divided as the first one to be self-awareness. The second section would talk about decoding or understanding, unwrapping what emotional intelligence is. The third one, wherein we are going to be talking about emotional intelligence or emotional quotient and its relation with the relationship management. So every person that we come across, how do we actually implement EQ in the interactions? And then in the fourth section, we're going to be talking about applications in life as well as relevance to school settings. So since we are going to be talking about educators, how they can use it for themselves as well as for their students, definitely, I'm sure you would find a lot of things of relevance when it comes to the fourth section that we're going to be discussing. Welcome, Gayatri.
Hi, Gayatri.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's move forward now to our first section, which is about self-awareness. And like my every session, I love it to be very interactive. So I request everyone who's watching us live, as well as those on Zoom, to interact and participate as much as possible. Right? Can we have the next slide, please, Gunjan? Yeah. So let me just begin the session with a little bit of food for thought. Um, this particular quote that I really like. It says, "Of all the judgments we pass in life, none is more important than the judgment we pass on ourselves." Are we really compassionate to ourselves? Do we realize or understand who we are? So it talks really very deeply about self-awareness and are we really aware of ourselves, right? So that's the quote I would like to begin with. And with this, we move on to the first section, which is self-awareness. So let me begin with a little activity here. I would request all of the participants to heart it out when it comes to, what is your understanding of self-awareness? So it could be anything in your own words. We are not looking for any kind of definitions just now.
So
Anyone?
for me, self-awareness would be, knowing about your own emotions, where you are, exactly knowing about your, your strengths and weaknesses. I think so. People on YouTube can also answer.
Strengths and weaknesses.
So I would like to say something.
Right.
The other day,
Go
there was
ahead.
this Ganpati celebration in our society, and there was a question asked. They asked us to close our eyes, and she counted, and we had to tell the five people whom we love. So I really closed my eyes, and then I was, counting one. This is whom I love. Two. This is whom I love. And then when she asked towards the end, who's the number one, or did you count yourself? when you say you love these people, did you count yourself? Do you love yourself? So I was like, oh, so that was an eye opener for me. I should have counted myself. So yeah, that is one where I,
Right. So you had missed on counting on yourself.
yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah, that's how much on priority do we put ourselves, right?
Right.
Okay. Any other responses? Thank you, guys. Thank you, Gunjan, as well. Any of our participants watching us live would want to interact at this point of time? We would love to see your responses. Okay. So like you have said, self-awareness is about, how much I like myself or whether I count on myself or how aware I am of, what kind of a person I am, what are the traits or the qualities that I have. So definitely, that would be a picture of ourselves, our self-awareness. Um, so, Gunjan, if I may request you to, yeah. So when we talk about self-awareness, definitely it is the ability to be aware of not just our qualities and our feelings and emotions, but also, to what extent, or what kind of thoughts do we carry? What is the kind of influence that our attitudes and values have over our behavior? How do we actually bring them about when we are interacting with others? So all of this together would be self-awareness, if put in very simple words, right? With this, I move on to another tool which helps us understand about more about self-awareness. Next slide, please. Yeah. So within this tool, we have two things. Now, why do we need to use a tool to be able to be self-aware? Okay. One, it would help us to identify our emotions. We really need to develop the interest so that we are able to be aware about ourselves. We are open to learn about ourselves. We really want to dig in deep there and understand about us. So when I talk about identifying emotions, if I may request you all, can you all put down certain emotions that you all feel day in and day out? There could be various situations that trigger it, but just now maybe just a list of emotions that you feel frequently. Maybe we could take a minute to list them down. I hope you have a pen and a paper with you. If not, please quickly go and grab that. Just now, just the emotions that you feel frequently. I hope you're populating your list.
Yeah, so I have some listed down. So there's anger, happiness, joy, fun, frustration, irritation, boredom, excitement. I don't know if tiredness is an emotion, but yeah.
Okay, okay, according to you.
Yeah.
Gayatri, would you want to?
Yes, to add to this, anxiety, um, boredom, yes. Maybe doing one thing over and over again can also cause boredom. Yes, happiness, fun, yes. So all the happy moments and all the sad moments also.
Okay, so those would bring together all of the emotions for you. Fine. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Now, all the emotions that you've listed down, what we are going to do is we're going to understand this Johari window model, which is basically a tool used to be self-aware with the help of the communication quadrants that we have. Okay, so let me explain to you one by one, and I would request you all to simultaneously also keep on, doing this model for yourself onto your notebook or a page. So you first draw, these four quadrants, wherein the first quadrant is the open area. So all the qualities that you mentioned earlier about yourself, okay, when you populated the list, you could put in the appropriate windows now, okay. So the first one is known to self. So these are the qualities that you know about yourself, and even others or anyone who interacts with you knows about you. You know this, this these are the characteristics that belong to, say, Tanvi or Gunjan or Gayatri or Sapna or Priyanka, all of them. So when you're talking about open area, feel free to list down all of your quality traits. Maybe you've missed on writing them earlier. You can add it newly just now, but put in all of those qualities here. It could be things like I'm a kind person, I'm friendly, I am honest, and so on. Gunjan, the slides have been changing
Oh, sorry.
behind, please. Yeah, thank you. In the next one, next quadrant that we have is the blind spot. Now, it is known as the blind spot because there are qualities of ourselves that sometimes, we miss out on understanding that, yes, we do carry these qualities. Or, even if we are aware, we are choosing to ignore, or, we are just being very, we are not really revealing that we know it or something like that, so these are qualities that are not known to self also at times, but others have observed it through our behaviors. Others are aware about it. So you're a person who says, people who are observing me might have opinions, might have facts to place in front of me that, no, you know what, maybe you don't quarrel when you're angry, but I do see subtle actions that signify to me that, you're angry. So it's not that I don't feel angry, I do feel it. Maybe I am blindfolded towards it, but others are observing. Similarly, you might have some other qualities. So you can put those in the second quadrant. Now, the third quadrant talks about the hidden area. So, definitely, we have a lot of friends. We have a chosen few close friends. We have acquaintances, we have family, we have students as teachers, colleagues, we have management personnel. So, when we choose to reveal certain things about ourselves, we are very sure that, we've kept certain things to ourselves, and we are not very comfortable sharing it with everyone. So all of those qualities that you've really kept to yourself and not really revealed to others would come in this particular third quadrant, which is known to self but not known to others. So to give you an example, when this entire thing about online or e-learning and e-course delivery or session delivery started, I was a very nervous person when it came to, turning on my camera and, delivering a session. And, but I never spoke about it, because I thought, what if I spoke about this and I lose an opportunity of actually conducting a session online, right? So I definitely could have various reasons as to why I'm hiding it. But then there are certain traits that, are within each of us, which we choose very wisely to hide, right? So those qualities could come here. Maybe, sometimes there could be participants amongst us who love to get attention, who love to get the credit for the work they do, right? That's what makes them feel happy, but they don't really talk about it, right? In turn, they know it because they've chosen to hide it, People don't know it. Maybe sometimes it could go unnoticed, and then I really feel bad about it, right? An example that some of us may be able to relate to. So once you've put down your qualities here, we then go on to the unknown quadrant, which is a fourth quadrant in the Johari window. Now you will be surprised as to what this is, because as the name says, it's unknown, right? So not known to self, not known to others. So any qualities that you feel you've learned about yourself newly, or sometimes you just do something and your friends or your acquaintances or colleagues would say, oh, I didn't know you're such a good artist, right? Up until then, you've never really realized that you're a good artist. Or, oh, you're so flawless when it comes to public speaking. Now, I might be a very nervous person, but the way others have viewed it, others have observed it within me, I then start to believe that, oh, I'm a flawless public speaker, right? So anything that you've newly learned about yourself, or you didn't know about yourself earlier, you can put those qualities in the fourth quadrant. So at this point of time, I would request participants to share a few of the examples that you have put in each of these quadrants. If you feel open to share it, you could choose to not talk about a quadrant at all. Completely acceptable.
May I?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so the first quadrant, open area, I am kind. I know that is known to me and known to others. Others might have observed that as well. Generous in helping them out whenever help is asked. Not known to self, or which is the blind spot. So cooking, because I didn't know that I could cook, but since I've started cooking, I can put that in that block. Also, like it's blind to me, but others have observed. I panic a lot. So and at that point of time, I say I don't,
Okay.
but yes, but I've found others observing that and noticing that I panic a lot in some situations. The next one is hidden area. Like the example that you gave, Tanvi, the credit. So if I'm doing a work and I don't get credit for it, um, so I really feel sad, because if you are if someone has acknowledged what you've done, that encourages you to go ahead with few other things as well. So that is one thing.
Right.
And unknown, the last block, I couldn't jot down any points, so I won't be able to speak on that.
Absolutely fine. Okay, great. So you put it in very well into the respective groups. Gunjan, any responses on the live from the participants?
No, we just have one participant, Purvi ma'am, joining us. That is what she has written, and let's see what she's still doing. I have asked her to do this exercise. I think she's still in the process of it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Gayatri, for sharing it so
Thank you,
openly.
Gayatri.
I think,
Thank you.
this is going to help us to learn from this session, actually doing it practically, right? And I'm sure just now you're saying that, it's unknown to you, the fourth quadrant, but when you, perhaps think about it later post the session, you may be able to write down one or two things,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
So please keep continuing the exercise, because doing it on a continuous basis would help us understand ourselves at
Correct.
various points of time, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
okay, so moving on. Now let's understand what is the aim of this model. Okay, so when we look at the Johari window and how to actually apply it in real life, we've now put in various things into the four quadrants that we have. Now, the aim of this model is that we need to increase the open or the free area, which means, let us understand how we can do it. So when we look at the blind area or the second quadrant, we are unknown to it. We've blindfolded ourselves, but others are yet observing us, right? So within this quadrant, a feedback could help, asking people around, like Gayatri said, if I may take your example, Gayatri, people said I panic a lot. That's what you had said, right? So, what makes them feel so? Are my non-verbal expressions doing the talking? So next time, when people tell you why they feel that you seem to be panicking, if you understand their perspective as an observer, you might be able to next time be a little more vigilant. If you're really calm, you might be able to display that calmness. So in
Right.
that manner, what you're doing is you're seeking feedback, you're getting their opinion, and that's how you're expanding your open area within the blind area. You're being
Right.
aware about it rather than ignoring it, right? Or saying that, oh, that's what you feel, but I'm not panicky at all,
Hmm.
you know, because
Right.
obviously that person has said something because
Right.
they've observed something.
Observe.
So
Yes.
trying and understanding this, and
Right.
this could very much be carried within your workplace, with students as well, because students a lot of times, observe very minute things within teachers, and they're very vocal about it. So why not
Hmm.
seek that feedback? Because in turn, it's going to help us to understand ourselves better. Next, when we talk about the hidden area, we've purposefully kept these things to ourselves. But, like you said, if I get the credit, that would really encourage me. So, what's stopping us from getting the credit? Why not tell people that you like taking credit? Because after all, you've done something and you're asking for credit, right? It's not that you're saying, oh, I'm very happy with the credit without really taking the effort for it. So, what's the harm in revealing that to at least a chosen few, to the ones you trust, to the ones you feel like sharing it with? Maybe not with everyone publicly, but I'm sure there would be certain people who really matter,
Hmm.
right? And their praise and their credit would really encourage you further. So, that is how we are going to expand the open area into the hidden area, right? Uh, we would have a little lesser things to hide about, right?
Yeah.
Next, we come to is the unknown area. So when we say, these are observations of others, someone else has discovered that within me. So that is a shared discovery that happened. I realize something about me when someone tells me about it, right? So earlier it was unknown, but now it's known. It's very important to actually fill this particular grid in, because this is the most important one when it comes to being self-aware. Because rest, most of it, sometimes and you're ignoring, but this you're completely not aware of. So it becomes very important, and it's self-discovery along with shared discovery, because you are choosing to then understand, oh, what is it that I haven't realized about me earlier. So this is how your open area is then expanding into all the quadrants that are here. And there wouldn't be a scenario when it's completely all the quadrants are filled with open area. There's always going to be a conscious decision of hiding certain things from others, but for our own benefit, so that's absolutely fine. But as much as you can, share and talk and be yourself, because the more things you hide about self, it would be very difficult to be yourself, while you're with yourself, or while you're with someone else. So let's try and increase our open areas. So I'm sure you would have had certain insights with this Johari window exercise. Please to continue to use it. Yeah. Next section we move on to is decoding emotional intelligence. Now we've heard about intelligence, we've heard about IQ, but how many of us have heard about emotional intelligence? Yeah, what is it exactly? So when you're saying emotionally intelligent, I would like to begin with a little activity. Okay, so look at my hand, and I request you also to do this along with me. Yeah, I want you to put your thumb inside, just as shown in the figure on the slide, as well as look at me, and then turn your fingers to make it a fist. Yeah, try moving your thumb inside very slightly. What is the movement that you observe?
The four fingers are holding the thumb.
Okay. Anything else when you're moving the thumb?
The other fingers also move.
Okay, for you, the
Even if-
other fingers also move. Okay. Now, slowly, how about we try to remove the thumb out of the fist without really moving our four fingers? Okay. So try that.
There is pressure.
Okay, there is pressure.
The four fingers are not allowing the thumb to come out.
Okay. Okay.
They move a little bit.
They move a
Can't
little
help
bit when
it.
I'm trying to bring it
Yes.
out. Okay. Right. Now, we would all have varied experiences when we're trying to do this exercise. It's because this thumb of ours, let's take it as the amygdala that we have in our brain, which is the center of emotions. It's the alarm center. Okay. So, any feelings that you have are generated in your amygdala. Okay. Now, when you have certain feelings at an adverse situation or a difficult situation, what you would see is that when you're trying to either fight that situation, or you're trying to run away from that situation, or if you are just freezed without really doing anything, okay, you would see that there's a lot of movement that's happening, right? When you were trying, you said, you could feel more pressure. Someone said we could feel the fingers moving. So, what was actually happening in the brain is also when the emotions are trying to be expressed, or they are trying to fight with the adverse situation, or they are freezed, you're confused. There's a lot that's happening, right? Emotionally. And that impacts our entire body, how we respond, how we then feel major emotions like anger, fear, anxiety, or sometimes it impacts us so much if the pressure is very hard, if the stress is too high, it could even create a hormonal imbalance, right? So that is what happens when we are emotionally vulnerable to things, right? Which is why when we say become emotionally intelligent, we say learn to regulate your emotions. Okay, learn to wisely use your emotions so that there's no excess pressure and you're able to yet deal with difficult situations effectively. So, like the slide says, when we're talking about it, it is being smarter with our feelings. And EQ is definitely a powerful set of learnable skills, like we said, regulating emotions or expressing emotions are all learnable skills, right? These can help us to become more aware, they can help us to make better choices and be more purposeful with all that we do, right? So, that is what EQ is about. Right now, there was a research done, and in fact, many research done. But what this particular one revealed, we are going to see. So, before what the results were, let me ask you a few questions. When you're trying to have a conversation with children in class, or you're having a conversation with adults, your friends, colleagues, anyone, what information are you processing while talking to them?
It depends, like what I'm teaching. Maybe I study, I do my homework. That is
Okay.
the information in my mind.
Okay, so you're trying to process the information. Okay. Uh, Anything else?
So many things actually. You're looking at a person's expression. You're looking at the non-verbal cues. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes, you have that aura, when you enter a room, it is already tense. Sometimes you
Uh-huh.
enter a room, it's already happy.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, there are thousand things we are processing. I feel,
Okay,
can't
okay. So
number
you
them, that
feel
there's
there are
so many
many.
things.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Also,
Uh,
maybe sometimes we need to, like whatever I have planned, it might not go that way. So I have to be ready with plan B.
right. Could happen spontaneously
Hmm.
even during a conversation.
Hmm.
Now, if this is what is happening with us, okay, what information do you think children are gathering while you are in class and you're teaching them? Are they really only processing the information?
No.
Right? Yeah. So that's what the research also said. Okay. The emotional brain has the ability to process a lot of qualities of data. It's not just looking at the information that's coming to me in the form of verbal or speech and language, but it's almost 6 million bits per second that I'm trying to process, different things that are coming out of the conversation, just like the two of you mentioned. It could be, giving rise to certain feelings. It could be certain judgments, certain inferences, me comprehending from my own understanding, building my own meaning to what the teacher is saying, a lot of things, right? And when it comes to the cognitive mind, which is purely the information processing, in comparison to the emotional brain, we see that here it is just processing about 10 to 100 bits of per second, right? So you see the vast difference between the two, and which is why what happens is, next slide, please. It's not just the information, but a lot of things that we are trying to process at the time, right? So when we talk about emotional intelligence, it is, it comprises of two main aspects. One is the intrapersonal, which is about me and myself within me, and then the interpersonal, which is about the social awareness, or it's about interaction with others. It's about the world outside me. Okay, it's the environment, it's the people, it's everything else other than me, right? Now, when we're looking at interpersonal and intrapersonal, there could be things like emotions, behaviors, work, studies for students, and a lot more, right? So let us try and understand what is the interconnection between all of these aspects or components of emotional intelligence. Now, when we look at self-awareness, when we are self-aware, what happens in turn is we are able to better manage ourselves in terms of our behavior. Okay, we are able to think, we are able to pause and then respond rather than react, right? Next, what happens is when we are responding and not just reacting impulsively, we're able to even better our performance, right? Even if you think about students, it works exactly in the same way for them. It's just that the dynamics could be different for them, right? But in turn, it's going to improve the performance with whatever we are trying to do. Now, when we look at self-awareness again, if you are able to be self-aware, we would definitely be able to empathize, yeah, which means understand what others are going through in different situations through observation, through questioning, through a lot of other things. And then you would see that your social awareness also increases. Okay. Now, without self-awareness, do you think there would be social awareness? It wouldn't, right? Which is why self-awareness becomes important. Now, once you have your social awareness at an optimum level, you would also see that you're able to manage relationships better because you understand how people are responding, what is triggering in a relationship that is creating the mismanagement, what is it that people like in general, how do people respond to certain situations or opinions or facts or whatever. So you're able to manage relationships, right? And once you're able to manage relationships, you see that people's performance also improves, right? Whereas to the flip side, if you're not able to manage self or manage relationship with others, you would see that there would be a negative impact on the performance, either of ours or of the people that we are directly in interaction with. Does that make sense? Yeah,
It
right. So
does.
that's the
Yes.
interconnection. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Now, there's this short activity that you could possibly implement for yourself as well as within your class. It would be best if you're able to chunk students in smaller group and do it with them at different points of time whenever you feel appropriate. But if we talk so highly about being emotionally intelligent ourselves, why not inculcate those qualities within students right from young age, right? So, one, they should be able to list down the emotions that they feel, and that's not where we need to stop. Once they are done identifying, we need to ask them, when do you feel this particular emotion? And as students or as teachers, you would have different responses to each of these emotions that we've listed down, right? So for me, example, joy would be when I complete a test and score well. Okay. Similarly, for you all, what do you think would joy be? When do you experience joy?
Uh, for me, when I complete a task in hand.
So Anjana is
Okay,
also
when
there.
you
Anjana,
complete
you
a
can
task
also
in hand.
respond. Yeah. So for me, when I'm with my family, I am most of the time you're there, but when you're, relaxed.
Okay, when you feel joyful when you're relaxed. Okay, now if I may ask you, why do you feel joy? You've understood when do you feel it. Now, why do you feel it? Okay, so for me, it could be, because scoring good marks makes me feel more confident, right? Uh, Similarly, for you, it could be different reasons. So once you're able to do this, you're able to plot every emotion and you're able to understand what is it that is triggering this emotion, be it a positive emotion or a difficult emotion. You're able to understand what is working as a trigger factor and how does it make you feel. Okay. So this becomes very important rather than just identifying that I'm feeling happy or I'm feeling disrespected or I'm feeling neglected or whatever it is, right? So doing this activity with children really helps them to be more self-aware, and it also helps them to over a period of time regulate emotions, because if I know what is triggering my difficult emotions, then I can work upon that trigger factors. Okay, and that would give me a different result.
So
So do you
Meena
think
in YouTube, she's commented that when you get a surprise gift, then you feel joy.
okay, okay. And what do you think? Why do you feel, joy when there's a surprise? Because it's something that was unexpected. Yeah. So definitely, that would complete the entire loop of understanding emotions, right? Okay, great. So do you think this activity is something that you can use with children of all ages across grades?
Yes.
Yeah. So that you don't just get answers like happy, sad, good, bad, but the vocabulary is increasing, they are understanding, right? Okay, moving forward, let's do this reflective exercise wherein we are trying to recall someone we loved being with when we were younger, apart from our parents. Okay, so it has to be someone else apart from our parents, but we love to be with this person. Okay, what did they do that you liked so much about them? You can list it down, you can feel free to share. It could be an aunt, it could be an elderly friend, it could be the friends of your parents, it could be a relative, anyone, acquaintance, neighbor, certain qualities of theirs that made you feel that you like them so much. Hope you're noting it down. The second question would be, how did you feel when you interacted with them? Anyone would like to share? Gunjan, any responses on YouTube? Yes, go ahead, Gayatri. I believe you want to respond.
Yes. The person that I liked being with is my grandmother.
Okay.
So why, like, what did she do? She used to tell me stories, which made me feel happy,
Okay.
which made me imagine things,
Mm-hmm.
and like we used to sit together for hours and discuss and talk, and and she used to just teach me, discuss whatever we did throughout the day, and that
Uh-huh.
also made me feel relaxed and happy.
Okay, so you felt happy and she was there to listen to you and she told you stories.
Yes.
Okay, great. Anjana ma'am, any responses from your side?
Yes, Anjana, you said, ma'am?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Jai Hind, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, I I have fond memories of talking to my father's friends. Um, we stayed in the same colony,
Uh-huh.
and I like them because they used to talk in a very friendly way, in a very polite manner, and they
Uh-huh.
really loved me. So
Uh-huh.
I like them. One of them is Mr. D.S. Gupta, and another Mr. S.N. Singh. They all are my uncles, and I really like talking to them.
Lovely, lovely. So you do have your reasons and your answers to both the questions.
Yes,
Great.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So,
Thanks,
what
ma'am.
this particular reflective exercise tells us is that even when I was a child, I looked up to this teacher of mine who was very considerate. She would always give us all an opportunity to share in the class. We felt supported by her. We really could do very well in her presence, right? So that was a quality that really I used to appreciate and like within her, and it used to make me feel very empowered and encouraged, right? And that's also very close to what the research tells us. So what research tells us is that even when we are educators, more than students remembering about us, how expert were we with our subject, or how well did we teach, what different methodologies we taught, more than that, it is how we make children feel within the classroom, right? What we did or what we do, that reminds them about us, right? So what the research said was, they did listen to me, believed in me, challenged me to bring out the best side in me, trusted and respected me, gave me time and attention, treated me as an equal person with everyone, right? So that is what I remember. Okay. Next, how that made me feel. It made me feel special. It made me feel valued, confident, safe, cared for, supported. What more could one ask for, right? Yeah. So when we are in the classroom, remembering to display these qualities, bringing these aspects within our conversations, within our, content in classroom is really going to take us forward. I don't think any teacher is only teaching academics in class, right? We are definitely teaching so many things, either verbally or non-verbally through our actions or through gestures or indirectly, right? So how about implementing this research bit within our classrooms? Yeah. So moving forward to our fourth section, which talks about, now we've understood what is self-awareness. We've learned how to become more self-aware. We can teach our children to become more self-aware. Uh, yeah, thank you. And then we learned how to actually use emotional intelligence. What is it? Why is it important? How is it interconnected? Now let's see what we can actually carry forward within our classrooms when it comes to being an emotionally intelligent educator, right? One, we've learned so far that whatever our emotions, they definitely have a direct or an indirect impact, right, on us as well as on those with whom we interact. So emotions impact various things like attention, memory, learning, ability to build relationship with others, and also our mental as well as our physical health can also be impacted because of the various emotions that we are exposed to or we experience, right? So that's the impact emotions can have on all of us, right? Which is why it is so important to be emotionally intelligent when you're an educator, because we are also, I'm sure a lot of us would have heard this particular think that, happy teachers create happy students, right? So that's exactly what this is. Correct. Moving on, let's see how emotional intelligence is important for teachers. I'm sure you would have your own points to put in. Let me just complete a few things on the slide and then I'll move on to you. So when we talk about the importance for teachers, a teacher deals, directly with students' feelings, relationships, and problems, whether they are a part of curriculum or not. So we definitely agree with this statement. A lot of times you would see that there's a particular teacher in school that everyone would want to run for when they are in trouble during times of difficulty. What is this teacher doing differently? Why do people remember her in times of difficulty? Is she using her emotional side wisely with students? Is she being observant? Is she being empathetic about their emotions? Is that why she's been able to build that connection with students, right? So try and give a thought to that. A classroom teacher will not just teach academics, but also foster students' essential skills like handling emotions, handling frustration, worry, and anger. You would see that if you're a teacher who panics in class, entire class is left confused, because they look at the teacher as a role model. If she's confused and doesn't know what to do, everyone would start being agitated, right? But if the teacher is able to display, resilience, which is fighting the difficult situation, coming up with different solutions to the same problem, then even students, you will see that they start thinking in different directions. They would come up with out of the box ideas, and they're able to do that at times of adversity, right? So that's what we say when we say fostering these essential skills. Now, students also learn better in positive relationship environments. I don't think I need to elaborate on this. It's very much self-explanatory. And I'm sure each one of you have seen this happening in your class, right? Apart from this, do you all have any thing to share when it comes to why emotional intelligence is important for teachers? Anything from your experience, anything that may have struck you just now?
Anjana or Gayatri, you have something to say, or people on the YouTube channel watching us can also put their comments.
Pardon, ma'am. Actually, I'm also traveling. I could not hear the question properly. Could you
Yeah.
please repeat?
So in case you have something that you would add on to the points that we just discussed when it comes to why emotional intelligence is so important to teachers.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I personally believe that if the child is not trusting the teacher, whether it is academic or non-academic, the child will not open up and will not be ready to learn. If he doesn't connect with the teacher, there's no point in teaching the child. So we as teachers have to take initiative, and we have to genuinely connect with the child emotionally first and make them feel safe and secure. That yes, I am not there to judge you or to show you your faults, but I am there as a friend, as a co-mate to help you learn new things and revise the ones which you already know. So that way the child understands that yes, the teacher is nice to me and she is my
Guy?
So
it is
I
very important.
Absolutely. I think very well put across, Anjana. It's very important to establish that relationship. It's very important to, establish that rapport with the child so that they feel trust within the teacher. Absolutely. We've also
Yes,
seen cases wherein, when students experience that discomfort or, don't find it trustworthy or don't find interesting enough, when that relationship is not there with the teacher, even absenteeism goes high a lot of times, and this has come directly from teachers. So definitely it's a very important aspect for teachers. Okay, moving on to the next one. how do you plan your lessons? I'm sure when I ask this, you would, tell me the entire process of, how do you do it, how you, look at your clock and plan minute by minute. And yet, when you go into the classroom, there are certain spontaneous things that come up, right? There are certain difficult situations that come up. Sometimes, or rather, many a times, we report saying, I could not do it as planned, but I've yet managed to finish this much. So while we're planning the entire lesson, just imagine that the energy that we put into planning an entire class as a whole pie, as an entire thing, are we really taking everything into account? So yes, we are planning for content. Maybe we are planning for different content for different kinds of learners within our class, different ability of learners within our class. We are planning for different methods and different materials. Are we really even planning to use emotional intelligence within the class? And do you think that can be planned? So maybe next time when you're doing it, you can look at this aspect as well. And the next slide, I think, would even talk about how we can use it. Yeah, so teaching with empathy. Now, a lot of times what happens is, let me ask you before I say anything, what is your understanding of empathy?
Listening to the children,
Okay, listening to the children, anything beyond that?
understanding them, like understanding the point why, as to why they have expressed their emotions, or why have they behaved in such a way in the class.
Okay, okay, I buy that. Any other response?
So actually, what I remember is, actually being standing on somebody's shoes and, being in their place and, just feeling how would they feel and then helping them maybe.
Okay, okay, absolutely. So very important is helping them. If we are just being there and understanding what they are, going through, or why they've done something, and not really help them to feel any better or done something to make their situation better, then it is sympathy. It's only when we are doing something to make them feel better or do better or perform better is when it would be empathy. So taking that action is really important, right? And with that thought, anticipating and responding to learners' expectations becomes very important. Setting certain ground rules, at the beginning of the year, academic year, and telling the children that you're going to be following this throughout the year. But what is the point of view of students? Why are these ground rules established in the first point? Why is it that they need to follow it? What happens if they don't follow it? So try and include them, within this process of setting the ground rules, and you would be amazed to see certain very beautiful things coming out, which maybe we've missed on thinking, right? So it's always a good idea to include children so that we are, being empathetic with them. We are implementing what they are expecting from the class, right? Uh, when we are explaining our expectations to them, also try and get them to share their expectations. What is it that they aim to learn from this class, or what is it that they aim to implement from this? Do they feel that the subject is important enough, and so on? Okay. Next is active listening. Now, before I go on to active listening, what according to you could be the listening? What according to you could be active listening? Any responses on that?
I feel active listening is the process of listening to something
Uh-huh.
with an intent to understand it, and
Okay.
along with understanding, with the ability and initiative to ask questions for
Uh-huh.
better comprehension,
Right.
and also to some extent have that visualization, how to implement this or where can I apply this in my day-to-day life. That
Uh-huh.
is active listening.
Okay. Okay. I buy that. So when you're saying we are listening to respond, we are not really listening. Yeah, we are just inferencing, if I may say. But when we're trying to actively listen, like Anjana also pointed out, we are paying attention because we want to understand what's being said. At the same time, we are withholding our judgment. We are not letting our beliefs come in the way of what the other person is saying. We're just being very open to what they want to share. We are also reflecting upon what they have said. When we are reflecting, we're not just understanding the information, but we're also trying and understanding the feelings that the person is trying to express while communicating. We are even clarifying when required. Like you said, we are questioning to check if we've understood it correctly. Have I got you correctly? Have I, this is what I understand when you say this. Am I correct? Help me understand. Things like this would really encourage them to open up and speak, right? Uh, Summarizing, when you have a lot of children answering the same question, yet bringing in their different views about the question in the form of answer, summarizing it all and giving it back for better comprehension would really help. And then encouraging sharing from both the ways, right? So all of this would together would comprise to active listening skills. Next, we come to is acknowledging individual learners. So, maintaining eye contact, make them feel important, make them feel like teacher is listening to them, teacher is there for them. Use their names, not just when they are misbehaving, but also when they are to be appreciated, or just while when you're teaching, using their name would really help. Refer to previous class contribution that they have gotten. That really shows how much you value the student, how much you remember what the student has shared. And this is not just pertaining to the current session, but also previous session. That also adds value to the entire teaching learning process, right? So all of these points put together would be teaching with empathy, right? Uh, then we would come to teaching with self-awareness. Now, what could this be? Definitely, as a as an educator, understanding what is the style that I am teaching in. Are my children understanding the style of teaching? What would help us here? Feedback from students, right? Direct questioning, direct seeking for response, playing to our strengths. Okay, try and bring out the strengths of yourself, which would help the students also to feel encouraged to learn better. Being aware of the verbal and non-verbal cues in the classroom, and not just being vigilant about what is the information that's coming from them in the form of verbal language, right? So that would be teaching with self-awareness. Anything else that you think you can add on here?
I remember a teacher telling me that my children, especially small children, notice what you wear and how you smile. So sometimes they even remember the day you wore your red dress, you taught me this.
Uh-huh.
So then if you're self-aware, that your how you look is affecting your students, or it helps them, or So small things, even your expressions or your mindset, so that you go in the morning with a smile.
Uh-huh. So that's playing to your strengths,
Yes.
right? Okay. Anyone else?
Also, ma'am, I would like to just add that I sometimes when I am like reminded of while I'm going to school, I say, Lord, I devote my duty to you. So keep me always kind, polite, patient, and I want to devote my service to you. So I think I will do my best today so that I give you the best. So I keep myself aware of this. And in this way, I feel my day is also like spent well and smooth. And children
Uh-huh.
see the best part of me.
Right, right. Very important, and also what can be clubbed with this is something that you would see in the next slide as well, which is reflection on what you've done throughout the day. right? So once you've told yourself certain things in the morning, have you really stayed by it during the day, right? So developing an emotionally intelligent teaching practices. So these are few of the best practices, and you're free to add more to these. So personal reflection, a self-check. Have I really completed what I had to teach today? Or have I set goals as per my students' expectations from this topic? Have I been able to expect that my students will excel in all that they do? Assess my progress. Am I tracking my progress on session by session or day by day? Uh, do I have a reflective journal? This is what I was saying when you were sharing. So, am I really being vigilant of all that I'm doing within the class, even post the class? Am I reflecting on it? Yeah. Learner feedback, directly asking children, what are the difficulties you're facing? Do you feel, I need to do something differently for your better comprehension? Why not, openly ask that to kids? I'm sure they would be able to give you feedback, don't they? They would, right? And then reflection with your colleagues. So once you've got a set of feedback from children, also discussing that feedback with your colleagues rather than discussing children would really take teachers very far, right? So doing these as best practices, I've been able to put a few here, but that just does not restrict you from adding more to these. So moving on, I think this is what we have bought for you today in the session. I know it was a 1 hour long session. You've had your notes with you. You have certain questions. So I believe you can ask your questions now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. Any thoughts and questions, all are welcome.
So I just wanted to ask, when you explained active learning, active listening,
Listen.
I noted down not just listening, but being able to suggest as well.
Uh-huh.
But then while you were explaining, you said understanding what the person is saying, but withholding your judgment. So how can sorry how can
No
we
problem.
go about it?
Right. So when we are, having a judgment, we are not listening to the person. Then we are only trying to, correct it for ourselves, how this information should have come. That would be a judgment. But definitely suggestion is something that a teacher is required to give as part of her profession after she has heard actively to the student. So
Okay.
waiting on clarifying, understanding if you've correctly understood what the child has expressed.
Mm.
And then when you're sharing, you are open to give your suggestions.
Okay.
No one has stopped you from that. But
Okay.
judgments would be your, prerequisite set of things that you keep about the child. This child
Mm.
always
Always
tends to go haywire while answering,
labeling a child,
labeling a
keeping that
child.
in your mind and then listening to the
Correct,
child.
correct. So being open
Okay.
to the child's information that they're sharing is something
Okay.
that we're expecting when we say not to put our judgments in.
Right. Yes, thank you.
So Meena here says that very informative session on YouTube. Then she also has, some comments regarding emotional intelligence. She says that it is there to connect students emotionally and that, to instill confidence in them.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
So that was a great session, Tanvi. Thank you so much. I think lot of things to ponder on and lot of reflection to do. We will follow up this session with another session, which is SEL day after